Today, we'll be exploring the power of geometry nodes once again to create this particular sci-fi corridor render. So open up Blender and let's begin. In our default scene, we're not going to delete the default cube as most of our geometry node tutorials. We'll click and drag from the junction of these two windows to create a new window, and we'll change it from the 3D viewport to the geometry node editor. Now we can press new to add in a new geometry node tree, and then we can delete the default cube by selecting the group input and pressing X. Now you can press Shift A to search for a grid node and plug that into the group output. Now we want this to be much larger, so we're going to change the size to something like 10 units, and we'll increase the number of vertices as well to 100. After which, we'll just distribute some points onto the faces. So let's search for a distribute points on faces node and plug that in. Now, if you reduce the vertices here, the distribution changes, so it's up to you how you wish to do it. I'm actually going to keep the vertices fairly low, although it genuinely doesn't matter that much. I'm going to increase the density all the way to 100 for now, but I'll change that as we actually instance cubes onto this. So let's search for an instance on points node, which allows us to place objects onto each of these points that were distributed on the faces. So we need some object to get instanced onto the points. So let's search for a cube and just plug the mesh into the instance. Now clearly there are way too many cubes, and for that reason we're going to start decreasing the density. However, before we decrease the density, we'll give each cube a random scale. For that, we'll search for a random value node and we'll plug that into the scale of the instance on points. Now, there isn't too much of a variation, so to change that, we'll go ahead and change it from float to vector so that we get control on each of the axes separately, and then increase the z value for the max fairly large, maybe 10, and make sure you reconnect the random value into the scale. Now let's go ahead and reduce the z value to 2, and then just play around with the density. So we'll reduce the density to maybe 20 or even lesser, maybe 10. For now, 5 seems to be filling up the gaps fairly well. Remember, the higher you go on the density, the longer your render times will take. So just make sure it's the minimum number required to make this seem fairly filled. Once you have that, we want this entire set to also be duplicated on itself once again. So for that, we'll search for a join geometry node so that we can have both this one and the duplicated one. We can actually just use the exact same object and just offset it by a little bit. So let's search for a set position node and plug this instance into the geometry and plug that into the join geometry. So now we have two copies being joined together, and we can just expand it on the Z to maybe 2 meters. Now I feel like the distance between these two is too small, so you can either increase it on the Z axis, or you could go down to the random value and reduce this to maybe 1.5. And that seems like a fairly decent distribution. Once you're happy with that, we can go ahead and just add in a few more cylinders to come about from random areas. So let's press Shift A and search for a cylinder node, and we have to instance that as well into the grid. So we'll take this instance on points node and press Shift D, plug it in here, but we don't want it to be instanced on every single one of the points. So for that, we have this selection button over here. So we have to use that, and to do that, we'll press Shift A and search for a noise texture as well as a color ramp. And we'll plug the color into the factor of the color ramp and plug the color into the selection. For the points, we'll use the cylinder that we just created, and we can just rearrange everything so that there's not too many crossovers. After which, we can take the points from the distribute points on faces and plug that into the points and use the cylinder into the instance. So the cylinder goes into the instance and the distribute points on faces goes into the points. And this will go into the join geometry node. However, before we do that, we'll go ahead and just change the radius of these cylinders to 0.01 so that they're not too fat. And we'll also bring in the black so that not every single point gets filled with a cylinder initially. Now plug this into the join geometry, and there we have our cylinders. Evidently, there's still way too many cylinders, so we'll just take the color ramp and start bringing it in till there are enough cylinders for what we want. So I think I'm going to go with something like this. But what I'll also do is to prevent cylinders from clumping, I'll go ahead and reduce the scale on my noise texture as well. Maybe go down to something like 4, and now you get fairly farly spaced cylinders. Now the next problem is that they're too low, so we have to lift them up. So to do that, we'll search for a set position node and just plug that in over here and lift it on the Z by 1 unit. We can also increase the actual length of the cylinders by increasing the depth over here, because there may be some situations where the cube is fairly small and the 2 meters does not cover it. So we'll increase the depth to 4 meters. Once you're happy with that, you can go ahead and assign a material to the different objects that we have. For these two objects, the duplicated version, we need the same material. So we'll press Shift A and search for a set material node, plug that in and give it some material, then select it, press Shift D, bring it down here. Then again, We'll press Shift D, and this time we need to change the material for this. So we'll go to the material properties down here. We'll change the name of this material to panels, and then we'll press the plus button to add in a new material slot, click new to add in a new material. We'll change that one to cylinders, and then in this set material node, we'll change it from panels to cylinder. So now we have all of the different materials adjusted, so we can go ahead and fix our animation. To do that, we'll select our camera, press Alt G and Alt R to clear location and rotation, then press RX90 to rotate it by 90 degrees on the x-axis, then press GZ1 to just bring it to the center of these two cube sets that we created. Then we can also press 3 to go into the side view and just grab it on the y-axis till it lines up with the back. So that's going to be, in this case, -5 meters, because the size of this grid was 10 units in length. So from one side to the other is 10 units. So from the middle where the camera was to the back would be -5 units. Once we've done that, we can press 0 to go into our camera view, go down to the focal length and change that really low, maybe something like 12 or 18. However, I'll stick with 12 for now. And I also want the cube to actually be larger, so I'm going to increase the size of the grid to 20 units. That way, I'll also have to select my camera and just grab it on the Y by another -5 units. And I'll increase the focal length to 18. Now that I'm happy with the size and placement of everything, I can increase the timeline a little bit and set all of our render defaults as well as our animation defaults. So in our render properties, we'll switch on ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflections. Then we'll go to our output properties, change the frame rate to 30 frames per second. End frame is going to be 300 so that it's a 10-second long animation. Our output is going to be whatever folder we want it to be, and we can save the name of the file as well. If you are saving the file name with the extension, just switch off file extensions here, change the file format to FFmpeg video. Encoding is going to have a container of MPEG-4, and output quality has to be perceptually lossless. Once you're sorted with this, you can press back on your keypad to go to frame 0, and then with the camera selected, press I, location, rotation, and scale, and then you can go to 300, which is going to be your last frame, and just press GY20 so that it moves to the exact end. You can go out of the camera view, press 3 to go to the side view, and see that it is the exact end of the cubes. And then go back to 0 and then press RY 360 degrees so that it goes through one rotation as well. Then press I, location, rotation, and scale. Now down here, we can press T and change it to linear. That way, we'll get a smooth transition as we go from this area to that absolute end. And this is what it looks like. Now to actually make it loop, what we have to do is press 0 to go out of our camera view, select our original cube object, and then press Alt D Y20, and we get another instance created over here. Then we can just press Shift R maybe 2 more times, and that's all we need to make this perfectly loop. Apart from that, our frame rate also drops a bit, so we can change the playback from play every frame to frame dropping, and this is what we get. Now at the end, although it'll perfectly loop, the absolute edges over here might have a little bit of a clip. So if you see between frame 300 and frame 0, there's a little bit of a clip happening. However, that will not be noticeable once we add in volumetrics and everything is textured as well. So we don't have to worry about that. If you do want to worry about that directly from now, what you could do is under your camera, you can go down and just change the clip end to zoom in and keep reducing it till a little bit gets clipped off. So maybe we can make this 50, and that way when you go to frame 300 and frame 0, you're going to see that there's absolutely no difference because the extra area is clipped off anyway. And again, because it's so far away, there definitely won't be anything noticeable when actually viewing the animation. So now that we're set with this animation, we have to get into the texturing. So the first thing that we'll do is change the geometry node editor to the shader editor, and we'll change the viewport display from solid to rendered. Then we'll go ahead and select our original cube, and you see we have cylinders selected over here. We don't want that. We want cubes initially. So we'll go to the material properties here and go to panels. Now for the panels, the first thing that we'll do is make them really metallic. So make them maybe 0.9 on the metallicness. And for the roughness, we'll use a Voronoi map. So let's search for a Voronoi texture. And I'll use the general sci-fi texture that I use, which is changing it from Euclidean to Chebyshev, and then pressing Shift D and plugging the distance into the vector, and reducing the scale here maybe to something like 2, and plugging the distance of this into a color ramp. So let's search for a color ramp, plug the distance into the factor, and this color into the roughness. Along with having this in the roughness, we also want it to go to the bump as well. So we'll press Shift A and search for a bump node, and we'll plug this color into the height, and we'll plug the normal into the normal. Once that comes in, you see it's being stretched out in different axes. To fix that, we'll take the initial Voronoi texture, press Ctrl T with the node wrangler switched on. If you don't have the node wrangler, just add in a texture coordinate and mapping node, and then switch it from generated to object. Of course, you could realize instances as well, but I don't really want to do that for now because it'll take up quite a lot of computing power on my laptop. So this is what we currently have. The next thing that I want to do is maybe reduce the strength to 0.4 and crunch in the black value quite a bit. Maybe crunch in the white as well. But we want the white to go from a value of 1 to a value of something like 0.7, just so that it's not completely non-reflective. And even the black, we want to lift it to a value of 0.2 so that it's not completely reflective. The other one is not completely rough. So now that you have this, you can go ahead and start the texturing of the cylinders. So just select cylinders from your panel over here, and we can select the principal BSDF and press X to delete it. Then press Shift A and search for a gradient texture and an emission node. So press Shift A, emission, and plug this into the surface. Now for the control of the gradient texture, we're going to need a color ramp so that we can play with the actual colors as well. And we need a mapping node, so press Ctrl T, change it from generated to object, and just rotate it on the y-axis by 90 degrees. And then plug the color into the factor and the color into the color. Once we have this nice gradient, you can go ahead and change the black to maybe a bluish color like this, and the white to maybe a pinkish color like this. And you see, you don't see the pink or the complete blueness here. So just change the location on the x-axis till we bring it approximately to the middle. So this looks about fine. Maybe a value of 0.5 will do, but we'll just crunch in the blue and crunch in the pink. And once you're done with that, change it from linear to ease. With this, we can go ahead and increase the strength, maybe something like 10 or 5. And we can also just switch off overlays, and this is what we have. Now that I'm looking at it, the cylinders are maybe a little too many in number, but we'll decide that once we actually add in the other volumetrics for the world. And we'll also go and switch this from object to world and change the background all the way to black and add in a volume scatter node. So press Shift A and search for a volume scatter, change the density to maybe 0.2 and plug this into the volume. We also don't require the default light, so let's select it and press delete to get rid of it. Now I want a few more dots to appear on these cubes. So I'll go back to my object. I'll select the cube and change from cylinders to panels. And now we have to play around with the emission and the emission strength. So first thing is I want them to be some sci-fi dots. So we'll press Shift A and search for a Voronoi texture, which is what can actually produce dots. So let's search for a color ramp as well, and just plug the distance into the factor of the color ramp and plug the color into a viewer node. We can do that by pressing Ctrl Shift click. Of course, you need the node wrangler enabled. Now I'll just decrease the randomness to 0 and bring the black in, but that way you see we get black color circles. We want white circles, so we'll bring the white to the other side and just bring the black in. And now we can increase the scale to maybe something like 30 to get the circles the way we want. And this is what's going to be plugged into the actual strength. So we need to search for a math node and set it to multiply such that we can increase the strength to more than 1 and plug this value in here and maybe keep the second value at 5 initially, and then plug this value into the emission strength and then Ctrl Shift click the principled BSDF. Now, if we increase the emission value from black, you should start seeing all those spheres emit light. However, we don't want every single one of these spheres to be present. So to change that, we have to mix this Voronoi texture with another mask, which can be a noise texture. So let's press Shift A and search for a noise texture and search for a color ramp as well. So press Shift D and plug the color into the factor, and also search for another mix node. So search for mix and then change it from float to color. So I'll actually zoom in so you can see it better. Change it from float to color. Now we have to change the type from mix to multiply and then plug the color into A and this color into B and increase the factor all the way to 1. And also let's just Ctrl Shift click the noise texture to see what we have. And right now you see almost nothing is present. So just bring the black back, and clearly the noise texture is too small. I don't want it to clump in these tiny spaces. I'll change the scale to something like 1. And now again, bring the black in, bring the white in, and just play around with it till you have some size that you want. I also don't need any detail, so even the roughness can go down to 0. And if you see the bottom is getting far too much and the top of these cubes aren't, you can always go back to your geometry node editor and maybe search for a rotate instances node. So maybe after this set material, I'll search for a rotate instances node and just rotate them on the Y by 180 degrees. And that way, both of these are going to get the same amount of spheres or whatever on both the bottom and the top. So now we can change this back to the shader editor and go on playing with the color ramp of not the Voronoi texture, but the noise texture. So maybe I like this scale of 2 and I just want to flip the color ramp. So bring the black in this side and the white in this way. And this might seem all right. I might change it before the final render, but you can play around till you get something that you like. Now, the value of this multiply node is what we're going to plug into the math multiply node. And then we can control shift click to actually see only those spheres appear. There we have it. Remember, if you don't like the size of these spheres or anything, you can always use texture coordinate nodes for the Voronoi texture and the noise textures and things like that. However, now we need to actually color these spheres and we need them to be colors of either blue or pink. And I also don't think they're emitting enough, so I'm going to increase the value to 10. Now, to make them blue or pink, I'm going to take this noise texture and duplicate it by pressing Shift D. And then I'll search for a color ramp node or just duplicate this one. And then change the colors to the same blue and pink. And since I want the lights to either be blue or pink, I'm going to change it from linear to constant. And I'll just drag this in. I'll change the scale of the noise texture to go even lower, this time maybe 1, and then plug the color into the factor. And I can plug this color into the color of my emission. So just plug it into the emission node right there. Once you have it, I can see that everything is currently blue. So to change that, just start reducing the blue handle and then you'll start getting pink values coming in random areas. So you can play around with this as well. You can play around with the scale and things like that till you get a ratio that you like. I'm going to go ahead with something like this. And that's actually all there is to creating this particular animation. Of course, you can play around with the settings and tweak it till you get something that you like, but this is what I'm going to go with. Along with that, I also feel like I want some amount of motion blur to occur. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to my render properties, switch on motion blur as well, and change the shutter lower, maybe something like 0.2, just so that there's not too much of a motion blur. And that's actually all there is to this particular animation. Hopefully you learned something fun in this tutorial, and you learned how you can layer different materials on the same object. How we had the dots on top of the Voronoi and the bump to get a more complex looking structure than it actually is. If you enjoyed this one, do check out other videos on my channel. I'm sure you'll find things that you absolutely love. Until the next video comes out, which is going to be tomorrow, don't forget to stay creative.